Thank you, Mindy. And the story that I'm going to share with you today is an old legend from Russia. And you know, you might think that Marilyn and I collaborated on these stories being back-to-back, that La Loma came from Russian history, but we didn't know anything about that when we planned our stories. This version of this story, it's called The Sea King's Daughter, is written by a man named Aaron Shepard. So this is one of his. Old legend in his version. Long ago, in the riverport city called Novgorod the Great, there lived a young musician called Sadko. Every day, some rich merchant or noble would call upon him to play at a feast. Sadko would grab his 12-string gusli and play until all the guests were dancing. "Eat your fill," the host would tell him afterwards, and give him a few coins besides. And on such as he was given, did Sadko live. He was happy. What man could go to a different feast every day, play the music he loved, and watch it set a whole room dancing? And he was proud of his city. He loved to walk through the busy market square lined with merchants from all kinds of faraway places. And when he would go down to the piers, he would look at the sailing ships full of their precious cargo. And crossing the great bridge over the river Volkhov, he would oftentimes catch a glint of the shining roofs from a dozen stone white churches. What other city is there like Novgorod in all the world? He would say to himself. And yet sometimes, Sadko felt lonely. The maidens who danced gaily to his music at the feasts would often smile at him, and more than once, one of them had set his heart aflame. But they were rich, and he was poor, and he knew that none of them would ever have anything to do with him. So one lonely evening, Sadko walked sadly beyond the walls of the city, down along the broad river Volkhov. He came to his favorite spot along the bank, and he set his gusli on his lap. Gentle waves were brushing the shore. Moonlight shimmered over the water. My lovely river Volkhov, rich man, poor man, it makes no difference to you. And he plucked a sad tune, and the tinkling notes drifted out over the Volkhov. Just then, the river grew rough, and a huge man rose out of the water. He wore a pearl-encrusted crown atop a flowing mane of seaweed. "Behold, the king of the sea. I have come today to this river to visit one of my daughters, the Princess Volkhova. Your sweet music has reached us on the river bottom, and we are greatly pleased." "Well, thank you, Your Majesty. Soon I will be returning to my own palace. I wish for you to come there and play at a feast." "Gladly, but where is it, and how do I get there?" "Well, it's below the sea, of course, and I think you'll find your way just fine. In the meantime, there is no need for you to wait for your reward." And something large jumped out of the water and started flopping around at Sadko's feet. A fish with golden scales, until it stiffened and turned into solid gold. "Your Majesty, you are too generous." "Say no more about it. Music is worth far more than gold." And with a splash, he disappeared beneath the water and was gone. The next morning, Sadko went to the marketplace and sold the golden fish and booked passage on a ship leaving Novgorod that very day. Down Volkhov, the ship sailed, making its way out into the Baltic Sea. As it sped across the deep water, Sadko looked over the rail. How in this wide sea am I ever to find the palace? But just then, the ship shuddered to a halt. Wind filled the sails, but the ship stood still, as if some giant hand held it. Some of the sailors were praying, some of them were cursing. The ship's captain called out, "It must be the king of the sea. Maybe he seeks tribute, or maybe someone among us." "Do not trouble yourselves," called Sadko. "I know the one he seeks." And clutching his goosely to him, he leapt over the rails and disappeared, plunging below the waves. Down and down Sadko sank until he reached the very floor of the sea. And before him stood a white stone palace. Passing through a coral gate, he came upon the huge doors of the palace, which swung open and revealed a huge hall filled with guests, fish and sea creatures of all kinds. Now, among those guests were standing dozens of maidens, and they were the maidens, they were the river nymphs. It turned out they were the Sea King's daughters. And on a shell throne at the far end of the hall sat the Sea King and his queen. "Aha! You're just in time, musician. Come, sit by me and let the dance begin." Sadko plucked a merry tune. Soon all the fish were swimming in graceful figures, and the river maidens were dancing. They were leaping and spinning. "I like that tune." And the king jumped to the center of the hall and joined the dance himself. His arms were waving around, his hair was streaming, his feet were stomping, his robe was swirling. "Play it faster! Play faster!" And Sadko did. And as he did play faster, the king's dance grew even more wild. The Sea Queen whispered gently but urgently, "Musician, end your tune. It may seem to you like the king merely dances in his hall, but up above on the surface, ships are being tossed around like toys, and huge waves are breaking on the shores." Alarmed, Sadko pulled at one of his strings until it snapped. "Your Majesty, my goosely has broken." "Ha! And what a shame it is, too," he said as he winded to a stop. "I could have danced for days. But Sadko, what a fine fellow you are. I think I'll marry you to one of my daughters, and then I will keep you here forever." Your Majesty, I know that down here beneath the sea, your word is law, but this isn't my home, and I love my city of Novgorod. Say no more about it. Prepare to choose your bride. Daughters, come forth. And the river maidens all started to parade before Sadko, each one more lovely than the one before. But Sadko's heart was heavy, and he barely even looked at them. "What's wrong, musician? Too hard to choose? Well, then let me wed you to the one who fancies you. Behold, the Princess Volkova." She stepped forward, Her green eyes were sparkling, and a soft smile graced her lips. "Dearest, at last we can be together. For years, my heart has thrilled to the music that you've been playing on the shore. Volkova, you're as lovely as your river." But the Sea Queen leaned over and she spoke again. "You are a good man, Sadko, so I will tell you the truth. If you but once kiss or even embrace her, you can never return to your city again." That night, Sadko lay beside his bride on a bed of seaweed, thinking, "She's so lovely, so charming. She's everything I ever hoped for. How can I not hold her?" But time and again, the words of the queen came back to his mind. "Never return to your city again." And his arms lay frozen at his sides. "Dearest, why do you not embrace me?" Well, you see, in my city, we have a custom. We never kiss or embrace on the first night." "Well, then, I fear you never will." And she turned away from him sadly. When Sadko awoke the next morning, he felt sunshine on his face. He opened his eyes and looked over, and there beside him was not Princess Volkova, but the river Volkhov. And behind him rose the walls of Novgorod. "My home, I'm back!" And tears streamed down his face. Perhaps for joy at his return, perhaps for sadness at his loss of Princess Volkova, perhaps for both. The years were good to Sadko. He, with the money that was left over from the golden fish, he bought a ship and goods enough to fill it. And so Sadko himself became a merchant. And in time, the richest man in all of Novgorod. And what's more, he married a fine young woman, and they raised a family. And many a feast would be held, so that Sadko could play his gusli and watch his own children dance. And yet, sometimes still, on a lonely evening, Sadko would wander beyond the walls of the city by himself and send his tinkling music out over the water. And sometimes, too, a lovely head would rise up out of the river to listen. Or perhaps maybe it was just moonlight on the Volkhov. This evening,